Subscribe and hit the bell icon to never miss an update from eTimes TV.
Hello everyone. Today we have MasterChef Australia 13's favorite contestant who earned many hearts in India and across the world, known as the Curry Queen and Pindo fondly. We have Dipinder Chibber with eTimes TV today. Hi Dipinder, this is Sugarna Mandal. So glad to have you today. How are you doing?
Hi, Sukarna. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing really well. Looking forward to talking to you more about this.
So tell us, from being a home cook, which I have heard you telling in many interviews, to the MasterChef kitchen, how did you prep yourself and how did you master the art and science of all of cooking?
To be honest, I didn't practice too much. I was just doing things that, I know how to cook. And even, during my journey on MasterChef, I was cooking a lot of things that I'm extremely familiar with. There were certain challenges where we don't have a choice and we have to cook with ingredients that were unfamiliar, or certain challenges where you have to tailor your food to suit the challenge or think outside of the box, especially with mystery boxes, because you don't know what's going to be underneath the box. So, there's only so much that you can prepare. There's basic skills like knife skills or cooking with different types of proteins that you need to know. But other than that, there's not much you can do. You can only really cook the style of food that you cook. You can just, make sure that it's seasoned properly and those kind of things. So at home, I cook very simple food. And, it's vegetarian, non-vegetarian, a mix of, North, South, Gujarati, a mix of everything. So I tried to showcase that kind of food on the show.
So mastering all these technicalities, was it difficult for you to make those prompt decisions at those moments, especially during the pressure tests?
Yeah, I think that the biggest challenge is to be decisive. And as a person, I'm quite decisive as it is. But, when you're in the kitchen, you doubt yourself on little things. So the moment they've given you a challenge, you have to think about, executing a dish perfectly. And in your mind, you get so many dishes. You're like, oh, I can make this with this, but I can also make that. I can go sweet or I can go savory. What should I do? What's safer? Who else is cooking? Like, there's so many questions that go into your mind. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to your trust in your cooking and you executing whatever idea you have from the start. So there were times where we didn't even know what the person next to us is cooking or what other people are cooking. You just have to focus on yourself and let that stress just go away in a way. Especially with pressure tests, I think making decisions, making calls of what to leave out, if you're running out of time and what to include. I think those are the decisions that are really difficult because they're the things that could potentially send one person home over another person. And we've seen that, throughout the season. But at the same time, I think it all comes down to, how strong-headed you are and how focused you are. And if you're actually really focused, you'll get everything done.
And representing Indian cuisine, right from presenting dabba food in a bento box and tandoori chicken and smoked lassi, how confident were you that what you are cooking have an edge over other international dishes in the MasterChef kitchen?
I think that's the thing. Like, I don't really. So when I made the tiffin or the dabba that you call it, I love that word. When I cooked the bento tiffin, I was actually really enjoying that cook. And the moment I lifted the lid, I saw the bento, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have to make some kind of, because I love eating bentos. I was like, it's going to have to be Japanese or something. The moment, Andy said, oh, you can cook whatever you like, I was like, great, this is perfect because this looks like a thali, you can just fill out every little section. The challenging part in that challenge was that you have to fill every single box. So you're automatically forced to make 5 things. And when I think of cooking that many things, the only thing that comes to my mind is home food. because we cook 3-4 things simultaneously at home all the time. You're making a roti at the same time, then you've got the rice on as well, and then you're making 1 or 2 sabzis on the side, and then you're doing a bit of a salad. So I think it's what came naturally to me. And throughout my cook as well, I really enjoyed my cook. I didn't think about the consequences and the fact that, this could land me in the top or the bottom of the pack. Like, I didn't think about those things. But, and with the fire challenge as well, I think that was a really fun cook for me, because I was playing with, an uncharted element, really. I've never cooked with fire before. Open fire is very different to cooking food on a gas or even in a tandoor or even a hibachi. So I think that was an element that I had never experienced. So I just said to myself, no matter what happens today, it's an immunity cook, it's a bonus cook. I'm just going to have fun. And that's what I tried to do. And it ended up, benefiting me in my favor in a way that I came up with a dish that was unique, it was nice, and it was well suited to the challenge as well. The smoked lassi was an experiment which worked. It just came to my mind halfway through the cook. I was like, oh, I should try and do a drink. And I was like, how about I do a lassi? And then I was like, maybe I'll try and smoke it, because we had a masterclass before that. And Scott Pickett, who's one of the chefs who was there, he said that add smoke in your food as a flavor. It's such a strong flavor. But at the same time, I was like, I'm doing tandoori chicken, which already has that charcoaly, smoky flavor. I don't want the judges to just get that smoke like constantly. Like, I want it to be pleasant, but somehow it worked really well. And yeah, that was a really, really good cook. So I think the cooks that I've had that have been amazing because I've actually enjoyed myself cooking those things. And they're the things that I love cooking as well. And not all of them have been familiar dishes. So, like, I've never made smoked lassi. Who makes smoked lassi at home? No one. Either we make chaat or we just make a sweet lassi, one of the two. So that was a complete experiment, but sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
And talking about your tandoori chicken, you had said on the show that it's usually your husband who would make the tandoori chicken.
Yeah.
And you were trying it for the first time. What was
Yeah.
his reaction when he saw you making tandoori chicken?
I think he was very happy and impressed, but he doesn't say it very often. But I know he's happy and impressed, because I could tell. Because I don't work with a tandoor. We have a tandoor at home, and we've got a barbecue, and it's normally, fire and those kind of things. I stay away from them. So I do the marination, and I make the chutneys, and I make all the other things, the dough for the naan. I do all of that stuff. But when it comes to actual using the tandoor, I just stand there and watch him, and he's doing it. So I think the fact that I put myself out there and worked with fire, which was very new and scary at the same time, because there was wind blowing that night, there was, if the direction of the wind changes, you have to kind of see where you're standing and where your dish is as well on top of the fire. So there's a lot of external elements that affect as well. So I think he was very happy with it.
I mean, cooking under a limited time, and then having judges Andy, Jock, and Melissa talking to you, was it intimidating that you have to cook, you have to talk to them, you have to prepare this recipe in your head and present the food? How challenging was the process?
Extremely challenging, actually, because yeah, absolutely right. Excuse me. Cooking the food is just one aspect of it. But then it comes to actually, you have to convey that, the food to the judges, and you have to explain to them what you've cooked and why you've cooked this dish and why you think this suits the challenge. I mean, half the time, it's something that comes to us intuitively. The first thing that you think of, you cook that. Sometimes you're taking a bit of a risk. So the judges are very well versed when it comes to Indian cuisine, and that's the bit I was really fortunate about. I never really had to go out of my way to explain to them a certain dish, because they already knew these dishes and they've eaten plenty of Indian food, especially Jock. I know he's had a lot in the UK because it's massive there. So I think it is quite intimidating, especially when the judges are tasting your food, because that's the kind of stuff that you make at home, or it's very humble food. It's something that doesn't belong in a restaurant. If I opened up a restaurant in India and I served home food, who's going to come there? Barely anybody, right? Everyone's going to be like, no, we want restaurant food. We want fancy food. We want food that's been pimped up with, like, I don't know, ghee, spices. It's better than what we're making at home. But at the same time, I think culturally, Indian food is home food. You know, it's what we make at home because that's the authentic food. You never find, I always tell my friends that aren't Indian, and I always tell them that the food that you eat at restaurants is so different to the food that I make at home. So it's just, I think the fact that they loved the home side of things, I think it started to make me feel less intimidated and more comfortable with the stuff that I was doing. And it kind of gave you a bit of confidence as well, that you're kind of on the right path.
Talking about risk taking, if you look back at the elimination task where you had to prepare food with Australian native spices,
Yeah.
do you think that if you would have changed something, some elements, you would have stayed a bit longer?
I think the problem that day was the choice of the dish that I went with. It wasn't the fact that I didn't cook it properly or anything. The dish still tasted good. The judges still liked it. I think what I should have probably done is made something more that's true to me. Like I wanted to incorporate Australian natives into Indian food, but at the same time, I was really nervous. And I think that's what the stress and the pressure does to you, that you make decisions on the fly where sometimes they work for you and sometimes they don't. And I wasn't confident if I used native ingredients with Indian ingredients, would they still shine? Like, would you be able to taste it? I tried to use them in their possible way, and it was still hard to taste them. So I guess the only thing I would have, in hindsight, I would have changed was to go with something that's more familiar to me. So maybe cooked, an Indian dish and incorporated them into an Indian dish. And that would have been the style of cooking that I do anyway. So I think it's very difficult to stay in your domain, especially in stressful situations.
And tell us, when did your tryst with cooking begin? Like, when did you develop this thoughts of going into MasterChef?
I've always cooked. I don't ever remember not cooking. And I used to cook with, my grandmothers, my mum, my aunts, and even at home, I used to always cook. MasterChef, I've been watching from like season 1, and I'm a super fan of MasterChef, and I will always be a super fan because it's just a really nice show. You get to see, all this stuff that you've never heard of. You get to learn so much about food as well. And at the same time, in Australia, and I feel around the world now as well, it's the benchmark of cooking, home cooks, especially like us. So I think I've always wanted to apply to MasterChef. And if there was any cooking show, I always said to myself, I was like, I'll apply for MasterChef one day. But I was not confident. I filled out my application like 3 or 4 times, and I finally submitted it last year because I was like, look, COVID is here. We've been cooking so much during lockdowns. Who knows if I'll ever get this opportunity ever again? It's now or never kind of thing. So I just closed my eyes and I just clicked submit, and then I forgot about it. And then, the rest was history. Yeah.
And your journey indeed has been very inspiring, and you have earned so much love, especially from India. Did you even had an ounce of idea that you'll get this much recognition, especially from Indian audience?
I didn't. And I've said this so many times before. I had no idea that people in India even watch MasterChef. Like I mean, I kind of did because I know that the old judges that we had, they loved going to India, they loved traveling, but I didn't realize the extent of it. And, when you're filming for something or when you're constantly cooking and you're in a stressful environment, you don't think of those things. It's just, it doesn't even click to you. For me, all I was trying to do was make sure I don't, cook a dish which the judges are like, we don't like this. My only focus was to make sure that I'm putting up delicious plates of food for them, dish after dish, just to keep that, that confidence going, just keep that momentum going. So I didn't have an inkling that I would get, this, not even 1% of it. I thought, people will hear about it here and there, but it's an Australian cooking show, so it'll be more in Australia. But I think it's become an international platform of cooking, like I mentioned before. So everyone all around the world is watching. I get messages. I obviously get like so many messages from India. I can't even count them, and they're probably in the thousands. And I try and get back to them, reply to them as much as I can. But I also get messages from like the UK, South Africa, other countries in the in the Indian subcontinent, as well as like America, Canada. Like people are watching it all over the world, and I think that's a really nice feeling for especially home cooks like us, because it makes you want to relate to people, and people watching it at home, especially in India, they can relate to us because they're like, oh, she's making food that we eat at home. It's relatable. Like it's not something, I'm not making food that is unachievable at home. It's food that we make at home. It's just someone makes chole differently. Every house has a different recipe of dal, right? Every house has a different recipe of chole. So it's just different ideas, different ways of cooking it. There's no right or wrong. But so I think it's the relatability that's probably helped me in my favor in a way that the Indian audience can relate to me, because I'm an ordinary person that makes this food at home, just like the, I don't know, hundreds and thousands of people that are cooking the same food in their houses and they're having it every day.
And talking about Indian food, what are the earliest and fondest memories that you can recollect of Indian cuisine?
The earliest memory is probably having golgappe in Delhi with my parents, and we used to just go around the corner, and there was this his name was Chandu. I don't think he's there anymore, because we went there a few years back, and my dad asked for him and he wasn't there. I think he's too old now. But this guy used to make the best golgappe ever, and I was very small. My mouth was so small, but the only thing that could fit into my mouth was a full golgappa. I never took a bite. I always shoved the whole thing in my mouth. And I still do that now as well. So I think that was one of the best memories ever. And we used to go there with my parents, and they would be like, oh, make sure you give her less spicy. And I'm like, no, bhaiya, I want full spice. Just give me everything. Like, and at the end, I would always ask for a sweet one because it was too spicy, obviously. Like, I'm very small. I think they are some of the best memories. My parents were very open in terms of going out and eating out. They never stopped us from eating a particular thing. We used to go out a lot, like for dinners, just like the four of us. We used to go to Nirula's a lot. My brother and I used to play on the swings constantly. In between, we're running in and eating. And then we used to get, the all-American banana split or like the black currant ice creams. Like I have so many memories with food, especially growing up. And I think there's credit due to my parents, because there's credit that I need to give to them, because without them, these memories wouldn't have been there. So apart from eating food at home, we loved to go out and eat. And we used to go to Sagar Ratna as kids. We used to go to like this local Chinese restaurant in Delhi, and it was called Kit Kat. And it's not there now either, which breaks my heart, because when I go to Delhi, I want to eat that food. I want to eat the same food, because I still remember what it tasted like and how good it was.
And after coming out of MasterChef house, did you get any special request from your family members that cook this item which you prepared in MasterChef kitchen?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, the list just keeps growing. I haven't actually even started the list properly cooking for them. I just cook food that I like to eat right now, because I am just craving home food. So I just eat a lot of home food, and I cook a lot of like simple vegetarian food at home. I think one of the first things I came back and made was biryani, because my husband's like, I haven't had your biryani in the last 6 months. Can you just make that? So I was like, yep, I'll make that. And my friends and family, I think they've all given me a list of things that they want to eat. And there's some dishes that I've never actually made at home. So I think those dishes I really need to make for them. Yeah.
And now having the MasterChef experience, how do you plan to craft your own future in the food industry?
I think MasterChef has just been a massive door of opportunities that it's just opened for me. Especially, my food dream was to always write a cookbook. Like I absolutely love cookbooks, and I right now I was reading a cookbook before we started talking as well. So I'm always, spending my time either reading cookbooks or researching what cookbooks I need, or and right now I'm giving a lot of time into actually collating the recipes that I've learned and evolved as a cook with, and recipes that I've learned from my dadi, my nani, simple recipes. Like they don't have to be complicated at all. And I think that is one of my things that I really want to do moving forward, is to compile these recipes into this cookbook, which everyone, again, can relate to and they can cook. And this goes for people that do come from India, people in India, and also people outside of India that, feel a bit scared of Indian food and spices, because it sounds quite intimidating if you don't cook with spices. So, and even a lot of Indians that live outside of India, they've got, and even people in India right now, everyone has a very fast-paced lifestyle. Everyone's working, you're living in a family, both your mum and dad are both constantly working. No one has the time to come home and prepare an authentic Indian banquet every night. So I think a cookbook where they can, use simplified recipes but still feel like they're at home. They're the kind of things that I would love to do.
Dipinder, having spent so many months together with other contestants, tell us, how was the bond off screen? Like, did you guys plan about what you are going to cook in the kitchen or share cooking tips with each other? How was it off screen?
Off screen, we had an amazing time, and it kind of turned into like a family as well. And yes, we did always give each other tips. And like, if I'm cooking Indian food and someone isn't, they would ask me questions about curries, basic curries. They're like, can you teach me how to make just a basic curry? I was like, yep, sure, why not? And if someone is an expert in cooking a certain type of protein, I would ask them. I was like, so how do you do this? Oh, when do you know it's cooked perfectly? So we definitely shared a lot of our knowledge, because everyone was a different cook. Everyone had their unique styles, their strengths in cooking. So we definitely helped each other out. And you find a group of people that you can trust. So you obviously talk about what you're thinking about. Everyone has a certain number of dishes in their mind that they want to cook. And sometimes there's no point planning what you're going to cook the next day, because 99, almost 100% of the time, every single time I've planned to cook something, I never cook it the next day, because the challenge is anything. It could be absolutely anything you can't even imagine sometimes. Like for the bento box, I was like, that's a mystery box day. So generally with mystery boxes, I cooked a lot of desserts because that's that's the outlet I had with mystery boxes. And I was thinking about all these desserts. And when I got there, it was a bento box, and I ended up making like ghar ka khana. So it was very different. So there's no point planning. Like, this is just one example, but every time you plan and you go, it never works.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dipinder. It was great having you and great chatting up with you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a really good chat.
Same here. Wish to talk to you again, and all the best for your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.